I didn't do a movie review last week, so this week I went back to the cinema and for once we had a healthy choice of movies. Seeing as it claimed to be from the makers producers of Us and Get Out, I thought I'd give Antebellum a watch, which is a 2020 American psychological horror thriller film written and directed by Gerard and Christopher Renz in their feature directorial debuts. It stars Janelle Monáe, Eric Lange, Jena Malone, Jack Huston, Kiersey Clemons, and Gabourey Sidibe. At least this movie has a Wikipedia page, which is more than most have had in 2020. If it chooses you, nothing can save you. A successful author finds herself in a horrifying reality and must figure out the mystery behind it before it is too late. Okay, first things first, this is not a horror movie, it's a definite thriller. There are literally zero scares in this film, so if you're going into it thinking it's a horror movie, you're going to be seriously disappointed, because it isn't a horror movie at all, it's a definite thriller. This film is weirdly paced, so I enjoyed the first act, but then the second act is it's a completely different film. And then the third act again goes back to being like the first act. So it's like too good, sort of, sandwiching that in the middle. The middle is though saved by Gabourey Sidibe, who absolutely steals the show. She's just really funny. Whenever she's on screen, she is a mesmerizing presence. Which Janelle Monáe, great in the first act, great in the third act. In the second act, where she's kind of just, I feel like, being herself. Good God, I would not want to spend more than 30 seconds with this woman. I enjoyed the twist, it's pretty good. I didn't see it coming, I didn't know what was happening. In the first act, I was like, whoa, how is this gonna go forward? What's happening here? And then the second act totally threw me, as I said. I don't want to say anything about it in case it spoils the movie, but it just totally threw me a loop. It's maybe about a 15-20 minute section of the movie that I just really was like, I'm not enjoying this. And then Gabourey Sidibe comes along and saves the sort of last half of the middle act. And then the third act goes back to being really good again like the first act was, so it's a pretty uneven movie in that aspect, but I enjoyed it enough. And I need to talk about professional critics again. There has been a bunch of critics that have panned this movie, and I feel like this is definitely going to be a professional critics' opinions are going to be low, and the audience score is going to be pretty high. As opposed to the worst movie I have seen this year, The Five Bloods, which deals with a similar issue of race and race relations in America in 2020. Whereas that movie got across the board 10 out of 10s and was a narrative and technical dumpster fire, this movie is actually technically and narratively absolutely solid. There are some beautiful shots in this movie. There's some great acting. The story, other than for that 15-20 minute period, as I've already mentioned, is great. And yet, this movie's been getting panned. And where I actually wrote one criticism down here. Antebellum fails to connect its images with any meaning, making for a largely unpleasant experience lacking any substantial scares. That was from David Ehrlich of IndieWire. I mean, I don't even know if he saw the movie. The meaning of this movie is entirely clear to you. Far clearer than The Five Bloods was, which was apparently vitally important. Even though it had a bunch of horrible racism against Vietnamese people in it. You can't make this up. Professional writers are just doing themselves out of jobs, because who can even take them seriously? Seriously, who can take them seriously at this point? This has a decent enough premise. held together by some great cinematography, decent acting from Sidibe and Monáe, and other than for that 15 or 20 minute period in the middle there, where I was kind of like, did pull me back, and I enjoyed the ending, so this is 4 out of 5 stars. It's pretty good.